Hello friends, welcome to my channel. In today's networking basics, our topic is switch. In this video, we'll talk about what is a switch, use of switch, type of switch, limitations of switch, smart usage of switch. So let's get started. So first, what is a switch? A network switch is a networking hardware that connects devices on a computer network by using a packet switching to receive and forward data to a destination device. A network switch is a multi-port network bridge that uses MAC addresses to forward data at the data link layer of the OSI model. We'll talk about OSI model later, but if you have a switch, okay, so it communicates based on the MAC addresses, not like an IP address, which is on a layer 3, but it is on a layer 2 device, so which communicates based on a MAC address. So it's simple. We will look at the use of a switch. So here you can see, so we have a group of machines, right? In a machines, we can say a laptop, a PC, printer, router, Wi-Fi device, access point, right? So all the devices who has the Ethernet ports that can connect to a switch, okay, who has the MAC address can communicate, via switch, because switch as a layer 2, which use a MAC address for communication. So here you can see to communicate a group or a connections, okay, connections devices, we need a switch. It's also called as a broadcast domain. It's like there are machines in a single group and they want to communicate, so they can't directly connect their cables in individual machines, right? If there are 100 machines, we can connect our cable to each of machine, right? So we are using a standard centralized device, okay, who will help us to communicate with all the devices. In that case, we require a switch. The switch comes with the various ports, like starting from the 8 ports, 4 ports to around 48 ports, right? So where we can connect multiple devices in a single switch. So it comes in a single broadcast domain, and we can communicate with all the machines which connects in a same switch, right? So there are multiple types of switch. So we can see that there are KVM switch, managed switch, unmanaged switch, smart intelligent switch, stackable switch, POA switch, right? So we'll talk about individual switch. Okay. So first start with the KVM switch. So KVM stands for keyboard, video, and mouse. So this type of switch is used to connect a keyboard, mouse, or monitor to multiple computers, right? You can see in a picture, suppose if you're in a data center, like these KVM switches actually use in a data center, or if you have a multiple servers and you want to manage, you need to take a console of those machines. So you will be require a single machine or single monitor, a single keyboard, and single mouse. From that particular machine you can access all these servers. Even there are 50 servers, you can manage with the single monitor, keyboard, and mouse. You don't require to 50 monitors and 50 keyboards for that. Even a single uh, keyboard, mouse, and monitor, you can manage all the 50 servers because they are connecting in a single KVM switch. So this is the base use of the KVM switch. Okay. Now the second is managed switch. In the managed switch, where we can actually, take a control of the switch. Okay, we can modify the settings as per our requirements. We can configure VLANs. We can configure STP, SNMP, QoS. There are so many features, right? In a production environment, basically we require these features, or we require a control of our network switch, so we can modify those settings. We can enable those features which is required to achieve our particular requirement, right? So this is the managed switch. In a managed switch as well, there are two types, which is called as layer 2 and layer 3, which we'll talk later. But Layer 2 basically you can't configure routing in that particular switch because it works as a layer 2 level, and a layer 3 you can do a routing as well. So that's the only difference between a layer 2 and layer 3. Other features are same, right? So there are so many vendors who provides the managed switch, which is Cisco, HP, Dell, Juniper. There are numbers of vendors who provides the managed switch. So managed switch is basically used in a production environment where you actually require a control. There are numbers of users, and you want to manage particular settings and need to enable some features which is required for your environment where you will be required the managed switch. Okay, now unmanaged switch. So in unmanaged switch, it's a very simple switch. You can just buy and plug and play. That's it. So you don't need to, do anything. You don't have any control over the switch, and you just need to, order a switch and just power on it and just connect your cable, and it's up. Uh, in the problem is unmanaged switch is that you can't modify any settings, or you don't have that some features uh, which you require sometimes in a production environment. So basically in a production environment, we obviously ignore this unmanaged switch because we require a control on a user basis level or need some feature which is not available in an unmanaged switch. But unmanaged switch suppose if you are in a home or a small office where you don't require a particular features, or you don't need a control, or to modify any settings, whatever the settings comes by default with the switch, you are okay with that, then unmanaged switch is perfect for that particular environment. And compared to the managed switch, it's very less costly. So unmanaged switch, so I already provided the example. Suppose if you have a 20 numbers of connections where you just want to just plug your cable and just you require internet connection. That's it. So it's a very simple use case of this unmanaged switch. So you can go with the unmanaged switch if you have this particular requirement only. Okay. Now we go with the smart and intelligent switch. So smart and intelligent switch, it falls between the managed and unmanaged switch actually. So where you will be able to modify some particular settings with limited settings. You will get that is some limited features where you can just configure a VLAN. You can just modify duplex settings. That's it. So apart from that, you will not get that STP and some other the features which provide in a fully managed switch. But it is not the same as unmanaged switch as well, where you can't configure the VLANs as well, right? So just smart switch, it provides you some basic features. Sometimes it is very best switch if you have a requirement where you just need to configure a VLAN. That's it. Because if you have two different groups or three different groups and they want to communicate with their within their group only, okay, and they don't want to interfere with other groups, then it's a smart or intelligent switch is the best option. Because compared to the cost, again, it is lesser than the managed switch but higher than the unmanaged switch. So it's a between managed and unmanaged. So this is the best use case if you have some particular requirements where you don't need to go with the advanced features which comes in a managed switch, but needs some basic features like VLANs and something like that. So just need to check whether before buying the smart switch, but that's available in the market. So there are so many vendors like a D-Link, Netgear, TP-Link who provides the intelligent switch. Now, stackable switch. So stackable switch is mostly useful in a production environment only. So because in a it's a stackable switch is like if you have multiple switches and you want to club into a single switch. Okay, it's like a single logical switch that called as a stackable switch. It's a very easy if you are doing it. It's easy for administration. Okay, so just suppose if you have around 400 users in your network, right? 400 cables you are connecting a switch. Okay, and there are 48 switch. There are will be 9 switches will be there. Okay, now if you are connecting, you know, 400 connections in this 48 port switches, okay, 9 switches, then you need to manage those 9 switches individually, right? So every switch you need to log in and need to do, you know, whatever the configuration, or even at the time of the troubleshooting, every switch you need to log in and check, right? So if you are clubbing those 9 switches into one switch, okay, so it's so very easy to manage a switch. Even the 9 switches you are managing in a single command line, right? In a single access, okay. You'll be able to see those 9 switches are a part of a single switch. So logging into a single switch and logging into 9 different switches, you know, comparing the administrative effort, then the single switch is very, very better than that, right? So this is the way actually, you know, most of the production environment, if we have some, you know, stackable switches or requirement which is suitable, you know, where you can club those switches in a stack, so go for it and make it as a stackable switch. So it's a very best use case, and you know, very essential in that particular environment. Now, the PoE switch. So PoE stands for power over Ethernet. PoE switch distributes power over the networks to the different devices. So basically, a normal switch, you know, when you are connected to a LAN cable or Ethernet cable into a port, it only provides, you know, data transmissions, right? But now we are having some smart devices like IP camera, wireless access points, right? IP phones, right? Where we are looking for power as well. Suppose we have the camera and we don't have a power over Ethernet switch, okay? So we need to provide the power for that particular camera through a different ways, right? Normal, you know, traditional ways. But there are some smart cameras who actually gets the power through the Ethernet cable only, right? But it requires PoE switch. Okay, so if you are connecting a cable for a data transmission, the same cable provides the electricity also through that particular port to get that power to that particular device. So there are so many vendors who provides the PoE switches, right? Cisco, Juniper. There are so many vendors, and there are so many, you know, advanced devices like IP cameras, access point, you know, IP phones, okay, who requires the power over Ethernet. So it's a very easy to use, right, devices. You just need to configure, and the PoE switches comes with the, you know, by default they are providing uh, PoE over that port. You just need to manage the settings as per your requirements. Now, so after that, we have, you know, some limitations of switch as well, because every switch comes with its own limitations, and that's where we need to understand our requirements and features offered in a switch. Okay, like if we have a layer 2 switch, okay, and layer 3 switch, so both the switches having some, you know, limitations. We need to compare that and what is our requirement, just like a manage and unmanage, right? In unmanaged switch, you can't do anything. You just need to, you know, plug and play. But that's again lead to a problem that anyone can connect in your network and access your network. So that's a security issue, right? But if you have a very small network and you are very sure the security is not required, in that case, that is okay. But in a production environment, using an unmanaged switch where the you can't control your switch, you can't manage your switch ports, that's a very limitations, right? So you need to consider before choosing a proper switch, right? So NAC doesn't support in a switch. You'll be required a router to access the internet anyways, because a switch, even though in a layer 3 switch as well, it doesn't support NAT. Okay, so you need to consider before going with particular switch. You need to understand what is your requirements and which switch is the best suitable for you. Okay, so there are very limited security features within a switch. So even though it's a managed switch, there are so many, you know, advanced features are missing. So you will be required some third party, you know, security mechanism. If you're looking for, you know, best security features, then you need to check that. So without proper design, connecting a multiple switches can lead in a loop. So that's very interesting. If you have a multiple switches and if you are connecting and your group of network or your connections are growing, and if you are just adding a switch one by one and adding anywhere you are getting a cable and just extending your setup, that can lead in a loop because without proper design, mostly in a production environment, it's actually you are degrading your network performance, or that will lead in a loop. Okay, so need to take care of this. So smart use of switch, how we can use it smartly. So first, choose the right switch which fulfills your requirement. If your requirement is just plug and play and no security requirements, you can just go for the unmanaged. It's a very very easy switch, no need to manage nothing. Okay, and compared to the managed switch, it's a less costly. So it depends upon your requirements. Okay, so make sure multiple switch connections you have proper design. So if you have in a futuristic manner also, if there are numbers of switches you are going to connect in a network, just assume that how the connections will look like, right? How the design will looks like. You just need a proper design document. Okay, on after that only you need to choose which switch suitable in your environment. If you have numbers of users in a single domain, or how many VLANs you will be required, how many what are the features you will require, whether you require a stack or not. You just need to consider, right, before doing that proper design, right? So you just need to understand the security. Okay, what kind of security you are going to provide. Okay, what level of security you need to configure in your setup. So based on that, you need to choose the proper switch. Some of the features and some of the protocols are vendor specific. Okay, so it's up to you which protocols or which features you are looking for. So you just need to consider now the vendor as well. What are the vendors having unique features, and what are the features you are looking for. So based on that, you need to choose the proper switch. Okay, again, so in a short, switch is a very useful and very easy to manage device. So it's a very essential in every network setup. You will require a switch in every design, right? So based on the requirements, you need to choose what kind of switch you are required, right? And bad design, bad config can bring your network down. So before designing your network, you just need to consider what your network is, what are your requirements, what is the future plan. So based on that, you need to design, you need to configure properly. So basically it's a larger network environment where you need to consider this design. Okay, if you gain some knowledge from this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.